Oi, gente. Hoje eu tenho a alegria de entrevistar uma grande figura da história do rock. É um cara que marcou o pós-punk, marcou a música eletrônica como baixista de duas bandas seminais, o Joy Division e o New Order. Estou falando de Peter Hook. Ele está vindo ao Brasil, toca a semana que vem em São Paulo, com ingressos esgotados já, infelizmente. Mas ele me deu uma entrevista muito, muito legal. A gente falou de tudo, falou da carreira dele, falou do início do Joy Division, do processo de composição da banda com o Ian Curtis. Depois ele falou da briga dele com o pessoal do New Order, falou a beça de várias músicas do New Order, contou um monte de casos super legais nessa entrevista legendada para você, que eu tenho certeza que vocês vão amar, assim como eu adorei falar com Peter Hook. Então aproveitem, boa entrevista. Thank you very much for this. It's going to be a pleasure seeing you again in Brazil. I've seen you many times with many bands and DJing too.
Ah, those were the days.
Something that you haven't done in a while, right?
Well, to be honest with you, I've been doing too many gigs.
Yes, yes.
And the trouble with DJing that I now realize is that it really is a young man's game. Oh my God. You know, to get to most places is just so difficult.
Yes.
And then to get there for a night,
Yes.
DJ at some unearthly hour in the morning when you're used to going to bed at fucking 11 o'clock. It literally takes a week to recover.
Yes. Yes.
So nowadays, literally, I'm like Moby. And unless I can't walk to it from my house, which is Moby's thing, is he will only do gigs that he can walk to from his house. So with DJ gigs, I try and do the same thing. So yeah, it really is a young man's game.
Young man's game.
I think in an odd way, whilst I miss it dreadfully, I'm happy to let the young men have their go, shall we say.
So you get less tired touring and playing a lot of gigs than DJing.
The touring is much more, it tends to be in chunks.
Yes.
You can adjust, you know, it's like jet lag.
Yeah.
So you get over your jet lag at the start, and then I can work it through. I'll always remember when I was young, I used to look at my father and wonder how he could sleep during the day. It was a complete mystery to me. How, you know, the world was so exciting. How can you sleep during the day, Dad? And then all of a sudden you become a dad.
Yes.
And then you become a granddad and you realize exactly why he was sleeping during the day. So, yeah, I mean, once I get into the rhythm of touring, it's absolutely fine. And I have to cut it to suit myself. So I don't do sound checks.
Oh, really? Okay.
I have a lovely little granddad nap in the afternoon, and then I'm raring to go, and it works, you know. And I've been offered some great gigs DJing, and then I look at, you know, how many flights it is to get there, and how long you're there for, and then they want you to play at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just like, oh, fuck that, mate. I'm sorry.
That's
too old.
That's something incredible coming from a guy who basically created the dance scene of the 80s.
Well, yeah, but you know, the thing is that oddly, when I do DJ, I DJ, I make sure I DJ at a decent time.
Yeah.
And nobody notices. Nobody notices that it's not fucking 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. They're all happy to get home before midnight. You know what I mean? So yeah, I suppose you do have to cut your cloth suit, I suppose. But yeah, I do. I must admit, I just did a wonderful gig when the Hacienda played.
Okay.
The Hacienda Classical played in Manchester, and I DJ'd, and I was first on.
Really cool.
5 o'clock
That's great.
in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I was delighted. Yeah.
What did you play? Did you play old stuff, new stuff?
Well, do you know what? There's so many DJs on playing the same old stuff.
Yes.
I do tend to play new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that if you pick wisely, that nobody cares, you know? I mean, it's really weird. in my time, especially with being a hacienda DJ, because the hacienda style music is so well known, and the period is very, very well known, 88 and 92, 94.
Yes.
But I do get, I have had a couple of complaints for playing new stuff, and I just tell them to fuck off. How does new stuff become old stuff? How does new stuff become classic unless someone plays it?
It's true.
It's the best one I ever did was I did a DJ gig here in Chester, which is just down the road from us here in Manchester. Great gig and great club, and I put on the Killers. And don't ask me why. I put the Killers, Mr. Brightside, on, and somebody marched into the DJ room demanding I take this record off because it was not from the 90s.
Oh, come on.
The manager came in just at that moment, and this girl who was complaining, he said to her, he said, "How old are you? How old are you?" And she went, "I'm 18. He said, "You weren't even fucking born then. Get out." Yeah, he's a nice guy, the manager. Quite interesting. Yeah.
So are you up to date with like new releases of electronic music? I mean, how do you say you're playing new stuff? I mean, how do you see that? Do your kids show you the music? Your grandkids show you the music?
It's recommended to me, and I actually listen to all the compilations on Spotify. And if I hear something I like, I'll go and listen to the LP, and then I'll seek out the artist. So yeah, it's quite a nice way of doing it. Whenever I'm getting ready to gig,
sure,
I always put on that year's dance mix, 2024 dance mix.
Cool.
And I'll crank it up, listen to it. Then if I hear one I like, take a picture on my phone, and then I seek it out later. It works. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's weird because when I'm in the car, which is where I spend a lot of my time.
Yes.
I don't listen to music.
Really?
I listen to, spoken word and live radio. So yeah, I don't listen to music in the car anymore, and I find that doesn't work for me for some reason. But there you go.
And in these playlists, do you listen to a lot of bands that were influenced by you guys? Like, I have a 16-year-old daughter. She's always showing me bands. And the other day, she's showing me one of her favorites, like Cigarettes After Sex. It's a really good band, but I mean, they sound so much like Joy Division in the beginning. It's amazing. I was like, why don't you listen to Joy Division?
I must admit, if my 16-year-old daughter came in and showed me that, I wouldn't be interested in who they sounded like. In case she said, "What does it mean, Dad? Cigarettes after sex?" You'd go, "I don't know. Ask your mother." Wouldn't you? Jesus. Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is that, to be honest with you, if most bands, to me, either sound like Joy Division or sound New Order.
Exactly.
So, the thing is that sometimes it's nice to hear one that doesn't. I'm going to bust you there, you are. So, yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's very strange. I've noticed that doing this round of interviews, you're being interviewed by a new generation.
Yes.
And I did a load of interviews last week, and two of them were 20 interview, and the other one was 22. And they were great interviews because these kids had really done their homework. And I suppose the thing that it brought home was sometimes with what I've been through musically from 1976 onwards, I can get quite blasé and I forget the importance of it in today's music.
Yes.
So it was actually quite interesting to be, shall we say, visited by a young generation asking questions. Most of them, I must say, were absolutely fascinated and dwelt on the Sex Pistols' first gig in Manchester.
Yes.
The impact that it had.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite strange because, I mean, you and I are obviously from a different generation.
Sure.
So the thing is that, you forget how much we've been through.
Yes.
and the ripples and the ramifications of it. So it's that was been quite interesting for that, actually.
And things that are usual and common for you are very important for the rest of the world. I mean, you were just in
Well,
that
yes.
situation, so you didn't know how
Yeah, I
important it
mean,
was.
looking at what the Hacienda achieved,
Oh yeah.
what Joy Division and New Order have achieved, and then to look at what Manchester achieved after it
Yes.
with Oasis, Stone Roses, etc. Yeah, I do. I do honestly forget sometimes what we've done to earn
Sure.
our stripes,
Sure.
shall we say?
Always wanted to ask you about the composition process in Joy Division and New Order. Did it change in any way? I mean, after Ian died, I mean, was it different, the composition process in Joy Division and New Order, or was it pretty much the same process without Ian, of course?
No, I mean, what happened was that the three of us would jam.
Hmm.
Barney, Steve, and I would jam. And we would always use those jams as the inspiration for
Okay.
most of the songs.
Hmm.
Occasionally, Bernard would insist on doing a sequencer,
Okay.
which would then be jammed over.
Right.
He lost his love of jamming quite about, yeah, it was about technique.
Okay.
Barney decided he didn't want to jam anymore for whatever reason. Didn't really know why. Didn't stop us jamming.
Sure.
Even an LP like Get Ready and Waiting for the Siren's Call, there was a few songs that were jammed on
Hmm.
it. Maybe not with him, but
Yes.
came from jams of me, Steve, and Phil doing it. So it's a very tried and trusted method for us,
Okay.
if you like. And it was the same going into New Order. All
Mhm.
that happened in New Order was that Barney would program the sequences, or Barney would play a keyboard line, which would then be given to Gillian to play,
Mhm.
and we would jam over it. So
Okay.
the thing is that I suppose in New Order, to replace Ian, we had a massive wall full of synths
Yes.
and keyboards and sequences, and in a funny way, they didn't replace him.
Right.
It didn't sound like Joy Division anymore. It grew, I suppose you'd
Yes.
say. Yeah, the composition was always the same, much to Bernard's annoyance.
But these jams, I mean, how would they start? I mean, do you bring up like a bass line, or how did it?
Yeah, I mean, if it's difficult to explain,
Yeah.
but say from an hour's jamming,
Yeah.
you might get one idea
Okay.
of 8 bars or 4 bars, or you might get 10 ideas
Right.
of 8 bars and 4 bars. But eventually, the jamming was quite fun because it
Mhm.
was all free form and
Yes.
everybody was joining in at different times. But the interesting thing was that listening to the jamming afterwards is the fucking boring
Yes.
bit.
Yes.
Because you've got to listen to it and go, oh God. And, most of the time, yeah, you're like, oh, Jesus. You're literally falling off your chair with boredom. But occasionally, you would get something. And I think I can safely say that 75% of New Order's output came from unconscious jamming.
Really, really amazing. Did you guys
Definitely.
record the jams like on a mixer, or on just
Yeah,
on
we
a?
started off on cassette,
Okay.
and then we graduated to a 4 track,
Hmm.
and then an 8 track, and then 16 track.
Okay.
So we were able to pick out, shall we say, easier the ideas, and also use them in a kind of pseudo bouncing, etc., to
Okay.
emulate a computer.
Hmm.
We were emulating what a computer does now with cut and paste
Yes. Yes. Yes.
on the old thing. Quite. I mean, it was, yeah. They come from nowhere,
Yeah.
and it's
Amazing.
it's it's very difficult that as a musician, you will walk into a room, and the only thing that's sat in the room is your instruments.
Yes.
Then you put them on, and you can have a hit record in an hour, or you can have a hit record in the case of Perfect Kiss in 9 months,
Yes.
or Blue Monday 6 months. You know, it depends on the track, but that idea literally comes from nowhere. Yeah. And this is one thing that always fascinates me about songwriting. Songwriting as an art is quite underrated because of the way that people consume it. But if you look at someone like David Bowie, who did everything on his own, yeah. and the songs that he wrote were just incredible. You know, to be judged in the same category as David Bowie is such an honor. But yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I was talking about Love Will Tear Us Apart, how we wrote Love Will Tear Us Apart yesterday. And Love Will Tear Us Apart came from Steve and I jamming.
Jam.
And Ian listened to the jam live and said, oh, I think I can get some words for that.
Right.
And the next time we practiced, he said, can you run that jam again? And we ran the jam again. And within an hour, we had Love Will Tear Us Apart.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
It was. I mean, but, you know, I suppose yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because you can't teach songwriting.
Yes.
You can either do it or you can't. You can teach an instrument, but you can't teach songwriting.
You spoke about David Bowie, and he was a guy who was used very much a lot of his influences, like, I mean, be it soul music or T-Rex or all those. I mean, he was a very a composer that kind of like fed himself from a lot of different sources, right? Mm-hmm. And you said that most of your music came from jamming, but how much of it also came from influences like Giorgio Moroder and all? I mean, did you also
Yeah, I mean, we would listen to interesting records, and then try and rip them off. It's just that we weren't very good at ripping them off. So it always sounded like Joy Division and not them. And in New Order, we'd do the same. And we'd rip it off. I remember there was one song by Timmy Thomas. Do you know that one?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Live Together.
Yes.
And we must have tried to rip that off. Oh my God, hundreds of times. We'd put it on, we'd listen to it. Oh, it's just that in it. Right, so we'd start with that, and then we'd end up with Perfect Kiss. You know, and I suppose in an odd way, some bands aren't as good at hiding their influences.
Yes, yes.
We would listen to Iggy, we'd listen to Low.
Yes.
Bowie was a very strong influence.
I can imagine.
That was where we got the title of the band from, Warsaw.
Yes.
It came from the trap Thor one
mm-hmm.
on Low. So yeah, some people are good at hiding it, like us, and some people aren't.
Yes.
You know, so it's quite a strange thing. But Ian was particularly well versed in music, much more so than Barney or I.
Oh, really?
Steve,
really?
Yeah, much more so. He introduced us to everybody.
Where did he get his knowledge from?
Do you know what? I've no idea. I've just done a podcast with his best friend.
Right.
And his best friend and the best man at his wedding has known him since he was 6 years old, and has said we were talking through the podcast because I've been meaning to do it with him for years. He's a very good friend of mine now. And throughout it, we were going, well, where did he get these influences? How did he find them? Can, Faust,
yes,
people like that, you know, Krautrock, Kraftwerk, before anybody had heard Kraftwerk. And he didn't know. He said 1 minute he had them. He just had them. And, you know, and I suppose the strange thing in those days was that communication was much slower.
Yes.
So how he was seeking them out or being introduced to them, even as his best friend up until, you know, the day that he died, he didn't know. So yeah, it's quite odd. He was very, very well versed, well educated, and if somebody mentioned about him, I mean, I remember everybody saying that we sounded like the Doors, and I was saying, "Who are the Doors? I've never heard of the Doors." And "You've never heard of the Doors?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, you know, wait there." And he actually got me and Barney a Doors LP each to listen to.
Amazing.
And when we listened to it, and we thought, "Fuck, we do sound like the Doors." Yeah, we did, and we actually played Riders on the Storm as a gag,
Okay.
and no one noticed.
Really?
Yeah, I'd love to hear a tape of that now.
On on a gig.
We played it on a few gigs, Riders on the Storm, just because
Amazing.
everybody said we sounded like the Doors. Yeah.
Amazing. And you spoke also of being casually like seeing the Sex Pistols' first gig and being in historical moments and just figuring out that they were historical later on, right? So when you listen to your body of work, Joy Division and New Order and everything that you've done, I mean, what are the records that stand out that you at the time, were there records that when you recorded them, you said this is like a standout track, or this is a standout album?
We never did that. Our manager, Breton, always said to us, the most important track you'll ever write is the next one.
Yes.
So fucking get on with it. That's what he used to say.
Yeah.
And we would go, I mean, again, talking about that interview about Love Will Tear Us Apart, the guy said to me, he said, oh, well, did you know you'd written a classic pop song? And he said, no, we didn't, because as soon as we'd finished it, we went on to the next one. We didn't dwell, and it just became in your arsenal, and then you moved on to the next one. The exciting bit was writing your next one.
Okay.
Because I suppose as an artist, there does come a point that once you've written it and overdubbed it, the amount of work involved in finishing it, you're like, oh God, if I never hear that again, I'll be over the moon. So it is a different process. But I mean, it's weird. I was playing a 12-inch mix there of State of the Nation that Warner Brothers just releasing to go with. Well, actually, that track wasn't beautiful. I thought it was fucking horrendous.
You did?
Yes, it was the John Roby mix.
Oh, okay.
State of the Nation.
Okay.
And, oh my God, I was just sat there cringing, going, oh God. And because he hated me, John Roby, at that point, the first thing he did was take the bass off it. So it is bloody awful. But I suppose as historical documents go,
yes,
it captured 1983, 84.
Yeah.
There's loads of tape edits in it.
Yes.
I remember recording it in LA, and I remember the studio engineer in LA looking at the tape going over the heads with all this white splicing tape over it. He was absolutely hypnotized by it going over the heads. He said, I've never seen so many edits in one tape in my life. And John Roby was, of course, delighted, but I was like, this is shit, mate. And yeah, so it's coming out as a 12-inch, a reissued 12-inch to go with the box set of Brotherhood.
Okay.
Of State of the Nation original 12-inch mix.
Cool.
And then I think it's called Shame of the Nation. So it's actually quite well titled. Luckily, John and I have made up now. We're actually friends again. Yes, so interesting.
But looking in retrospect, I mean, when you look at your body of work, I mean, you're a music fan. I mean, take yourself. Which songs that you recorded that you say, well, this is a really, really good song?
You see, the weird thing about New Order in this, because of this moment, the great thing about me playing the LPs and playing the songs in the LP version and as they sound on the record, which is much more New Order-y, shall we say, especially than the incarnation live now that pretends to be New Order. They sound nothing like New Order.
Right.
So the thing is that I do get to revel in what I like most. It was our production, and the sound was very special.
Yes.
Now we'd actually got into a rut by 2006 in that we were playing the same songs over and over again.
Yeah.
Barney didn't like the old rock stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just left. And luckily, because I started the Light, I've been able to use the gimmick of playing the LPs to get every song back.
Right.
So I've got every song back. And I'd forgotten just how good some of them were.
Yes. And
literally to sit there and realize, as my son told me, that we'd never played Age of Consent.
Incredible.
25 years.
Yes.
And I was like, no way. And he said, Dad, he said, New Order never played Age of Consent.
Amazing. Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, so now we've got it back.
Yeah.
And me and the light can play it whenever we like.
Sure.
You know, so those landmark moments really were where I'd lost.
Yeah.
And whole records. We never played anything off technique. Barney would not play anything off technique. And I could never understand it.
Yeah.
But really, it just went in the other pile of frustrations.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's another frustration we can put with the other pile of frustration.
Yeah. Yes.
As in, oh, you know, we won't play. We don't do festivals. They're boring. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. Oh, it's heartbreaking. It really was heartbreaking.
Now they're doing every festival.
Yeah. My landmark moments now are getting these tracks back.
Yes.
When we played Technique, and we did a few tours playing Technique and Republic, that was fantastic because I hated Republic as a record. But I played it, finished it off, finished the tracks, and I thought, fuck, this could have been great. Yeah. The problem with Republic wasn't the music or the songs, it was the band.
Yeah.
The band was so anti each other.
Mm-hmm.
The atmosphere around it, and the whole record was done to save Factory from bankruptcy. It was done to save the Hacienda from bankruptcy.
Yes.
It almost bankrupted New Order morally and spiritually. And it didn't save Factory or the Hacienda. They both went bankrupt anyway. You know, so it was, to get that record back was fantastic. Now, here in England in 2025, we're playing Get Ready in its entirety. And that's going to be fucking great for me to get that again. And then after that, I will, obviously, before the Grim Reaper comes knocking, I want to get, while waiting for the Sirens Call, and Sirens, so that I can say that I've done every song that New Order wrote and recorded. I played every song that Joy Division wrote and recorded. So yeah, I'm well on the way to doing it. And every time I get them back, that's a landmark moment for me.
So the records, they return something that you've lost in your problems with the band, basically.
Yes. Yeah, because the thing is that I always thought that the songs that we were writing were great. Sometimes the direction they took wasn't to your satisfaction. So I'm lucky that them two twats aren't here. So I can bring it back and I can go, right, this is the version now. Look, it sounds just like New Order. And I think that anyone will agree, if they've seen Peter Hook and the Light, we sound just like New Order.
Sure.
And what kills me is that New Order, who are pretending to be New Order, don't sound anything like fucking New Order. Whether that's a plus or a minus, I actually feel quite sorry for the fans. You know, it's like, it's one of those puzzles, isn't it, in life? You're like, that's weird. Yeah, it's a strange thing. So, but no, I'm much happier, as my wife says. Every time I come home from a gig now, I'm smiling. I didn't do much smiling when we were together. So the thing is that, life has a funny way of turning round. And I must admit, to be able to come to a country like yours that has always been a wonderful supporter of New Order, right from the very first time we came in 1982 or 83. We've always had such a fantastic time. There's so many fans. It is such an honor to be with people who love the same music that I do. And it's as simple as that, because without them, I wouldn't be anywhere, would I, So it's wonderful. And to get this opportunity at my age, thank you all so much. And the band are great and we love it. And to play two LPs like Substance New Order and Substance Joy Division, which are two very contrasting records, but follow the same theme. These are all the tracks that we didn't release on LPs. Joy Division is almost the same. Tracks that we gave away when we were kids. Because of that simple thing. Well, we'll give Atmosphere away because we'll write another one next week. That was our whole way of living. Don't worry about it. We'll have another one in a minute. And it literally was, you know, Joy Division were writing one song a week.
Yes.
2 songs. Once we lost Ian, we certainly lost that. And then we slowed down immeasurably. And as the more technology we brought on board, the more we slowed down.
Right. Yes.
When we played, it would speed up. But as soon as you got the technology involved, it just ground almost to a halt. But you know, those records that you were making, and Bernard's programming and his inspiration with the synthesizers was incredible. I mean, I used to watch him in awe of how he'd start with the bass line, then do a top line, then put some keyboards over it, and then fantastically we'd get a go.
Yes.
Then, oh, fucking great, you know, and then we'd jam round the song like Thieves Like Us, Perfect Kiss,
yes,
and then meld the two. It was just that as his taste changed, or some would say as he tried to take over the band, he wanted less of you and more of him.
It's true.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that by the time you got to Republic, that was quite apparent, how Republic, to me, the way we recorded and did the LP sounded more like electronic.
Sure.
Did New Order.
The New Order.
When I got the tracks and managed to do it again, I actually managed to make them sound more like New Order. So I was delighted in that respect. So, yeah, I mean, there's been many standout moments in playing with the light. The best one of all, because we never played Closer at all as Joy Division, was to get that record back.
Okay.
And to watch my son play it, who was exactly the same age as I was.
Incredible.
When he played it second time round, that was incredible. He was 21 when he played Closer, the same way I was 22 when we wrote it. It was unbelievable.
What a feeling.
That deja vu.
Yeah.
I've ever had in my life, you know, watching him learn the bass lines for Closer was an incredible moment. And then to get that record back and to be able to play that record.
Yes.
But we never got to play it as Joy Division because out of honor and respect for Ian, once Ian had gone, we treated Joy Division as gone as well. So, yeah, I mean, I've been very grateful, even though the arguing with the others is still going on.
Yes.
And still very, very painful. At least I enjoy the playing bit.
Cool.
Whereas before it was just painful and everything was fucking painful.
But
I wonder if they'll say this about me. I don't have no idea. Oh my God. It'd be a great debate, wouldn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But it'll be great. It would be great to see you again here in São Paulo. Can't wait. Can't wait for the show.
Looking forward to it. I mean, your city is a city of contrasts as well.
Oh yes.
But we work with Gilly, who's our promoter. He's been a great friend for many years.
Yeah.
We tried to do more gigs from an economic point of view and a feasibility. It couldn't happen. Since COVID, things changed so much from touring, but he was determined to get us there on this tour, which he did. Cool. And we're also playing one date in Mexico again. Which is very difficult to get there now after COVID. So I'm really looking forward to it. The audiences have, I cannot thank them for their support enough. I really can. And whenever we get there, we're exhausted. But we're so happy, and to do it. And then again, leaving is almost exhausting, but we always big smiles on our faces going, fuck that. That was worth it. It really was.
Cool. Peter, thank you very much for this. It was amazing talking to you. It was really great. And congratulations on your work, this kind of archival work you're doing. It's amazing to be able to listen to these songs live. And
it's been great. I must admit, there's a lot of times when I've got a tear in my eye.
Oh yeah.
When it strikes up. Yeah, the boys do such a wonderful job of interpreting it, to my satisfaction. and Potsy in particular is such a great help, who was my guitar when we played together at Monaco. So yeah, it's been great, and thank you.
Cool. So
You
great.
take care.
I'll see you in São Paulo then. Thank you very much for this. Okay.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot, man.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.